let anybody tell you that. I've had Charlie T on the podcast quite a few times, and Charlie was, wasn't that big of a deal. If you just bought media like me, Charlie, I love you, man. You're probably even going to listen to this because Charlie's one of the greatest dudes in the world. And he always gives me advice on how to get better as a podcaster and how to get better as a YouTuber. But it was a really big deal, right? It was a really big deal, and brands were hurting. And some of you might have gone bankrupt then too, right? Like your brands might have gone under. A ton of brands went under during that time. What was the core issue? Like, walk me through why and why it's still an issue.
Yeah, I mean, like, even to put things into context, I was working at an agency at the time as the director of paid media, and I lost 40% of my book of business. So I just want to tell you guys, like, it was a big deal. You take Jordan's word for Jordan's word, and I'm going to tell you and back it up. It was a big deal, and I watched a lot of companies fold, and there's nothing more heartbreaking than that. I think a lot of people get this misconception that media buyers just care about themselves. Like, no, the best media buyers, in my opinion, are the ones that put their hearts on the line, thinking that those are their brands as well. Yeah. But yeah, so what happened was, Meta had a lot of this technology of tracking people's data, what was happening in the platform, in other words, what you're searching, et cetera, on an SEO component, right? And then you've got also being able to send data back to your platforms like Shopify, WooCommerce, BigCommerce, and telling them, hey, we got you all of this revenue. As Apple started, I guess, putting on a hat of like, we care about you and your data, they decided to, I would say, in the simplest terms, not let people have access to that. Sterilized tracking. In other words, you're not able to send that data back. It's not right for you to be tracking to this extent. So it's a violation of privacy. So I'm going to give any Apple user the ability to opt out of being tracked. What did that do? Well, the perception in the public was, oh, thank God, like my privacy's back to me. I won't get ads. But that wasn't the case. And my joke is always like, no, you're just going to get more plumber ads. You're just going to get ads that aren't tailored to you. You're still going to get ads. You're just not going to get tailored ads.
Totally.
And the second part is the retargeting. So businesses were able to send ads back to people who were interested in their products, which makes sense, right? And say, hey, by the way, we have a discount, or if you're interested, don't forget about us. That was annihilated because all the data was flawed and missing. But for me, what was uncovered is a lot of truth. And what the truth is a hyperinflation of reported revenue from what Meta was saying to business owners and advertisers. They were saying, congratulations, you made $50,000 today in our ad platform, but then you go into your Shopify store or whatever store you had, and you're like, that's not true. And the discrepancy started getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Mm-hmm.
I remember this. I remember you couldn't actually, like, the problem was you lost all trust in the platform. And it wasn't as though Meta wasn't driving. It's still, I was listening, this is probably about 6 months ago. I was going to say the other day, but it was about 6 months ago. And I was listening to Tony, I forget his last name, Tony Vesey. Sorry, Tony, I forget what your last name is. Founder at Vesey. And I was like, Tony, what is your, sorry, I didn't say this. He was up talking. Somebody asked him, what is your strategy for 2025? It's like, Facebook ads. What's your strategy for 2026? Facebook ads. It is this, like, if anyone tells you that it's not the number one driver of D2C brands right now, like either they have a very specific kind of use case, everything else is periphery. Even for me talking about TikTok Shop, it is periphery. It is not the number one driver. It's, I would call it right now an incredible driver, but it's nothing like Facebook ads. We knew Facebook was actually producing a ton of money, right? But the problem was we couldn't really trust how and why. And then we saw frequencies go way up, which then told me like it's just doing a ton of potential retargeting maybe.